if you break your arm, you can just put it in an X-ray machine and see exactly what's wrong.
Right. It's just a jagged white line on a black background. Plain as day.
Exactly, plain as day. But what machine do you use when you have everything together on paper, but you still feel, I don't know, just deeply and inexplicably stuck?
Yeah, that is the ultimate question, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, when you try to diagnose human fulfillment, that X-ray machine is, well, it's utterly useless. We are looking at a diagnostic landscape that is just incredibly murky.
Oh, it is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters. I mean, you can't exactly put human consciousness through a CT scan.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can't draw blood to measure someone's level of inner peace. And yet, we all recognize those symptoms.
The restlessness.
Yes, the restlessness, that feeling of running on a treadmill, or that creeping sense that no matter what we achieve, we're just playing the victim to our own circumstances.
That is exactly what we are attempting to navigate today. We're doing a deep dive into a really profound piece of source material.
It's an audio excerpt, sure.
An audio excerpt that explores a philosophical framework called the 53rd Gene Key. And just for anyone unfamiliar, the Gene Keys is this contemplative framework.
It's kind of a blend of a few different things.
Right. It blends elements of astrology, the I Ching, and modern genetics into this system designed to map out human consciousness. It's essentially an ontological lens for looking at how we evolve.
And it's a fascinating lens.
It really is. So our mission today is to follow the specific roadmap this text lays out. It promises a path that takes us from a baseline state it calls immaturity through a phase of expansion and ultimately lands us at a highly elevated destination it refers to as superabundance.
The claims in this text are undeniably bold. I mean, it fundamentally challenges our core assumptions about suffering.
Absolutely.
And about the nature of success and what it actually means to grow up. It basically operates on the premise that our entire relationship to the external world is backwards.
Which is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
So I want to speak directly to you listening right now. If you've ever felt trapped in a cycle of constantly chasing after material success, only to get the promotion or buy the house, and realize you don't actually feel fulfilled.
Which happens to so many people.
Constantly. So if that's you, this deep dive is for you. We're going to explore why those feelings happen through the lens of this specific framework.
And more importantly, how the text suggests we can use those exact frustrations as the creative fuel required to evolve.
Right. So the framework begins at the starting line of human development, which it calls the shadow state of immaturity.
The shadow state, yeah.
Now, my initial read on that word, immaturity, was that it meant being childish or throwing tantrums. But the text is using it in a much more, structural way.
Yeah, it's not about acting like a toddler. Immaturity here is defined as being completely externally fixated.
Externally fixated. Okay.
Right. It's that stage in human evolution where an individual just hasn't learned to look inwards for the resolution of their own problems.
So it's always someone else's fault.
Exactly. Within this shadow state, the framework suggests we operate under the illusion that whatever is making us unhappy is entirely outside of our control.
Like your boss is the problem, the economy is the problem.
Your partner is the problem, the weather is the problem, everything external.
The source actually draws a direct comparison to the movie The Matrix here, suggesting we are living in a construct, like a mental projection.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Yeah. In our immaturity, we absolutely believe the construct right in front of us is the ultimate reality. We get entirely lost in the drama of our own daily lives, and we become victims to whatever the world throws at us.
But the speaker in the audio, he anticipates the immediate resistance to this idea.
Because people get defensive.
Very defensive. Telling someone their suffering is largely a product of their own mental construct usually makes them incredibly angry.
Sure. It sounds dismissive.
Right. So the text tackles this head on by asking the obvious questions. What about a friend dying of cancer? What about children starving?
The really heavy, undeniable stuff.
Exactly. The author makes a point to clarify they aren't being glib here. The world is full of intense, undeniable, and heartbreaking suffering.
Right. The text isn't denying the existence of real-world pain. The crucial distinction it makes is about the mechanics of how we meet that suffering.
How we respond to it.
Exactly. The presence of suffering is a given in the human experience. The question of maturity is our internal posture toward it.
Do we let it crush us into a permanent state of external blame, or do we use it?
Right. Do we use it as a catalyst to turn our focus inward?
Well, think about the concept of Earth as a school, which the text leans heavily into.
I love that concept.
It's so helpful. It suggests that some humans are simply immature at an incarnative level. They are like brand new pupils who have just walked through the doors of this school.
And they just have a massive curriculum to get through.
Precisely. They are driven by a baseline restlessness to seek pleasure and avoid pain at all costs. It's just their current grade level, so to speak.
To make this esoteric idea a bit more concrete, I kept thinking about playing a really difficult video game.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Imagine you keep failing the exact same level. Your character dies over and over. When you are in that immature, externally fixated state, what do?
You get mad at the game.
You rage quit. You blame the controller. You complain that the TV is lagging. You blame the game developers for making the level unfair.
Right, you're entirely focused on the external environment being broken.
Exactly. But the only way to actually beat the level is to look inward. To admit you don't fully understand the mechanics yet,
You have to practice the timing.
Yeah, to resolve the problem by upgrading your own skill.
You're blaming the matrix rather than realizing you need to upgrade your own code.
Yes, exactly.
The text actually uses a beautiful analogy about flowers to strip away any sense of morality or judgment from this learning curve.
The snowdrops, right?
Yeah, think of snowdrops. They bloom in the very early spring, sometimes pushing right up through the frost. But there are other flowers that don't bloom until the deep autumn.
And one isn't morally superior to the other just because it bloomed first?
Not at all.
It's just on a different timeline.
Exactly. There is zero moral judgment in when consciousness matures. The text argues that human consciousness is essentially background radiation from the Big Bang.
Just evolving over vast stretches of time.
Right. Some aspects of that consciousness flower early, some flower late in the game, but the underlying material is exactly the same.
Which brings us to this deeply mystical concept in the text that attempts to explain the root of our blind spots.
The karma aspect.
Yeah. The places where we are still playing the victim, the source claims, are tied to unseen karma from past lives.
It posits that everything in our outer world is linked back to an invisible cause and effect chain.
And when we are immature, we are totally blind to this chain. We are caught in what the text calls the ring of seeking.
That initial frantic restlessness.
Right, where we endlessly seek pleasure and dodge pain. But then, if the shadow state is this frantic, outward-facing blame game, how do we get out?
Well, the greatest lesson this Earth School offers, according to the framework, is the realization that the outer life can never offer genuine fulfillment.
No matter how much you rearrange the furniture of your external life, the internal restlessness remains.
Exactly. Once you realize the controller isn't broken and you stop blaming the TV, that frantic external seeking collapses.
So the only way out isn't to run faster in the other direction. The text insists we have to fundamentally alter our speed.
We have to do the exact opposite of what society tells us.
Right. The transition from immaturity to what it calls the gift of expansion requires us to slow down, which is so countercultural.
Oh, completely. Society, hustle culture, social media algorithms, they all demand that we move faster, grow faster, and expand aggressively.
But this framework explicitly states that true maturity is deeply rooted in deceleration.
It points out that the preceding gene key in this system, the 52nd, literally governs the energetic concept of slowing down.
The speaker uses this great analogy of a river maturing.
The mountain stream versus the wide river.
Yeah. A young river, high up in the mountains, is fast, aggressive, and narrow. It violently carves its way through rock. But as that river matures and nears the ocean, it becomes wider, deeper, and much slower moving.
And the text applies this directly to human awareness.
It suggests that when we slow our physical rhythm down through breathing, contemplation, or simply not reacting instantly to every email, our actual awareness quickens.
We start to see life with this clear, slow motion precision. We can actually look at the mechanics of why that works physiologically.
Oh, like the nervous system.
Exactly. When you're rushing, your nervous system is often locked in a low-grade fight or flight state. Your peripheral vision literally narrows.
Because you're only focused on the immediate threat or goal.
Right. By consciously slowing down the physical body, you engage the parasympathetic nervous system. The lens widens.
You stop reacting to symptoms and start seeing the underlying patterns of your life.
Exactly.
The text uses a business analogy here that I found really fascinating, especially because society tends to celebrate massive, rapid expansion.
Like the overnight unicorn startups.
Right. A tech startup that grows 500% in a year is put on the cover of magazines. But the text calls effortful, hyper-compartmentalized growth a sign of deep immaturity.
It warns of imbalanced expansion.
If you overexpand a business so rapidly that you outrun your supply chain or your company culture, the expansion itself becomes a liability that destroys the operation.
And the framework argues that true expansion must be holistic. We have a terrible habit of compartmentalizing our lives.
We treat our career, our family, our physical health, and our mental well-being as entirely separate silos.
But the source insists they are all one single interconnected phenomenon. If you aggressively expand your career by working 80-hour weeks, but you completely ignore your health
And your relationships?
and your relationships, that is imbalanced expansion. It creates severe structural instability.
So in the context of this 53rd gene key, balanced expansion requires 3 specific elements to grow in tandem.
Awareness, love, and creativity.
Yes. And the text gives these really stark warnings about what happens when you isolate them from one another.
Think about what awareness looks like in a vacuum. If you are hyper-aware of someone's psychological flaws, or you understand exactly why a system is broken, but you lack love.
You aren't helping. You're just using that awareness to be cruel or to tear things down.
Exactly.
And love without awareness can be blinding. You might enable someone's destructive behavior because you love them, completely unaware of the long-term damage you're causing.
It's so true. Furthermore, creativity without love is just reckless innovation.
We see that in technology all the time, right? Building things just because we can without asking if they actually serve humanity.
True expansion is the ripening of the spirit where awareness, love, and creativity grow together.
And when you slow down, this synergy happens naturally. The text claims that the secret to balanced expansion is effortlessness. It brings simplicity to your life rather than piling on more complexity.
To explain how this learning process accumulates, the source introduces a concept from esoteric lore called the permanent atom.
Or the causal body.
Right, the causal body. The text describes this permanent atom as a single microscopic unit within our being that gets carried over between lifetimes.
It supposedly stores all the karmic charge, but more importantly, it holds on to all the good we have learned over the cycles of our existence.
And as we mature, as we embrace the slowing down and undergo this balanced expansion, the text says this permanent atom begins to glow.
It radiates from within.
Yes, and this internal radiation is what creates the aura of an expanded state of awareness.
It sounds a bit abstract, but it makes me think of a computer's hard drive.
Okay, a cosmic hard drive.
Yeah. If this permanent atom is like a cosmic hard drive, the shadow state is when your operating system keeps crashing because of corrupted files.
The unresolved karma left over from your last boot up.
Right. So slowing down and turning inward is essentially running a disk defragmentation. You aren't buying a new computer, you are reorganizing the chaotic data into something functional and efficient.
And the person in this defragmented, expanded state fundamentally understands that the problems of the world can only be solved from within.
Which perfectly sets up the text's Hydra analogy.
Oh, the Hydra. Trying to solve external problems without changing your internal state first is like fighting the mythical Hydra.
You take a sword and hack off one head. Like you fix one superficial problem in your life and 2 more straight up in its place.
You stop a conflict in your workplace, but the same dynamic just springs up in your marriage.
Because the restless, immature energy keeps us exhausted, fighting the Hydra forever.
The gift of expansion redirects that restless energy. Instead of hacking at the heads, it addresses the root cause within the permanent atom.
Now, the text makes sure to emphasize that this doesn't mean we stop participating in the world or helping people.
Right. Selfless service is described as a primary byproduct of love.
And a necessary part of expansion. But the 53rd gene key is described as one of the most driven energies in this entire matrix.
It will either drive you to absolute madness trying to fight the Hydra, or it will drive you to a higher state of awareness by using that exact same frustrating energy as creative fuel for internal growth.
So we move from the frantic video game trap of the shadow state. We slow down into the mature, wide river of balanced expansion.
But the framework doesn't stop there.
No, it points toward an ultimate finish line, a highly elevated state it calls the city, or superabundance.
Superabundant.
But what does that actually mean in practice? Because, the word abundance has been heavily co-opted.
Oh, completely. The text offers a sharp critique of the modern New Age movement here, pointing out that almost everyone today uses spirituality as a tool to seek material abundance.
Right. People use manifestations for wealth, or they pray to deities to get a nicer house, a better job, or a new car.
Now, the author doesn't shame the desire for comfort. Ensuring our material needs are met is acknowledged as a highly practical, necessary step in human life.
It reduces immediate survival stress, which is real.
Absolutely.
But the critical realization the text offers is that a nicer car does not bring ontological fulfillment. It doesn't extinguish the root of suffering.
Material abundance is just a comfortable stepping stone. The speaker analyzes the prefix super, which comes from Latin meaning above or beyond.
So superabundance literally translates to beyond abundance.
Yes, it is a totally different dimension of consciousness where the accumulation of abundance no longer matters.
It's a state completely beyond seeking, beyond personal agendas, beyond the very concepts of expansion and contraction we just discussed.
The text quotes the poet Rilke from his ninth Duino elegy, where he writes, "Superabundant being wells up in my heart."
It's not about having things. It is a profound state of pure being.
It is described as a numinous state, and that cosmic hard drive we were talking about, the permanent atom that glows during the expansion phase.
Yeah.
The framework suggests that in the state of superabundance, that atom undergoes a spiritual explosion.
The lessons are fully integrated, the seeking ends, and the endless cycle of incarnations supposedly comes to a close. It's described as the fruit finally dropping from the bough.
It is the ultimate letting go.
Wait, I am genuinely stuck on a massive contradiction in the audio right at this point.
Oh, where is it?
For the last 10 minutes, the text has rigorously insisted that maturity is a slow, wide river. It hammered home the point that we absolutely must slow down our physical rhythm to evolve.
Right.
But then, right as it describes this ultimate state of superabundance, the speaker suddenly pivots and says this Gene Key actually wants us to run.
Yes, the running.
He claims running burns energy, that it's deeply meditative, and that letting the running run you brings this feeling of superabundance.
It sounds contradictory.
How can relentless physical running possibly lead to a state of ultimate resting and slowing down?
It is the grand paradox of this specific philosophical framework. The text is utilizing the concept of running on two distinct levels.
Okay, 2 levels. Let's break that down.
First, there is the literal physical level. The rhythmic, repetitive act of running can actually induce a deeply meditative state.
The runner's high, right?
Essentially, yes. The physical body is working incredibly hard, burning off that restless shadow energy, while the internal mental world finally slows down and goes quiet.
Oh, I see. It's like the eye of a hurricane. Total chaos and speed on the perimeter, but absolute stillness in the center.
That is a perfect way to visualize it.
Okay.
But more importantly, the text is using running as a metaphor for the wheel of life and death, the endless momentum of existence.
So superabundance isn't about escaping the momentum of the world.
No, and it's not about fixating on the waves of success and failure that constantly rise and fall. It is about locating that stillness in the center and resting in the source itself, even while you are in motion.
So you can be physically running or, participating intensely in your career, your family, your community, while your internal state remains completely unattached and rested.
Exactly. Whether you are running a literal marathon or sitting in a silent retreat, the internal state of superabundance is characterized by a profound letting go.
You let the running run you rather than frantically gripping the steering wheel, trying to control every outcome.
The source scales this paradox up to a massive cosmic vision, actually.
Oh, wow. How so?
It posits that one day, this entire universe we inhabit, the physical matter, human history, the wheeling stars, will eventually contract and withdraw back into its source. Space and time will fold back to their origin.
Like the universe taking a giant breath in.
And from that source, a brand new mystery will eventually be born. The eternal beginning.
The breathing out.
Right. The framework suggests that this is how our human minds must conceptualize eternity. It is just an endless cycle of breathing out and breathing in, of running and resting.
So superabundance is the ontological shift, where you realize you are not the breath itself, you are the breather.
Exactly.
Man, we have mapped some incredibly dense territory today.
We really have.
For everyone listening, we've walked through the developmental stages outlined by this philosophical text. We started in the matrix of immaturity, that shadow state where we are externally fixated, raging at the video game, and blaming the world for our own internal restlessness.
And then we explored the mechanics of the gift of expansion, dissecting why slowing down the nervous system allows our awareness to catch up.
Right, we looked at how true expansion requires a balanced synergy of awareness, love, and creativity to defragment our cosmic hard drive.
And finally, we arrived at the profound paradox of superabundance.
a state that transcends the modern obsession with material wealth entirely, embracing the absolute stillness at the center of the hurricane.
It requires a radical shift in how we interpret our own lives. And as we conclude this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought that builds directly on the cosmic scale of this text.
I'd love to hear it.
We just explored the idea that our entire universe is operating on an endless cycle of breathing out and breathing in. The framework suggests you carry this permanent atom of learned goodness with you through all of it.
Yeah.
If we adopt this lens as a thought experiment, how does that change the way you look at your single biggest frustration right now?
Oh, that's a powerful question. If you view your current, seemingly impossible struggle, not as a permanent trap, not as a glitch in the matrix, but rather as the exact, highly specific curriculum your soul requested to force your awareness to widen.
What would you do differently tomorrow morning?
What a great place to end. The next time you try to diagnose why you feel stuck, remember that the answer isn't going to look like a jagged white line on an X-ray. It might just be the quiet, unglamorous, slow work of turning inward. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.